Good afternoon, everybody. Obviously, here in the middle of the week, getting ready for the first of our CIC games, and these games are always just unbelievable battles, and I'm certain this one will be as well. They're hard games to win. They're hard games to prepare for, and I think we go down a lot of rabbit holes in these games, just knowing what the other team can do defensively, offensively, special teams, and really just trying to stay focused on what we can do well in each phase to try to be at our very best. So we're looking forward to the game, as we always do in these CIC games. They're great rivalries, and just great institutions that represent our country. And so we're excited to be here at home and know there's going to be a great crowd, and certainly going to draw on that, hopefully, for some help, which we'll need. But we're back on the practice field today, and excited to get back out there after a week last week, getting prepared and hopefully get things ironed out before we get into Saturday.
Rich, kick us off.
Because Rich Marco, Army Radio. There's been so much success, so many eyeballs on this team through the start of this year, and so much that's being talked about. Though, how important is this game and the Commander-in-Chief's trophy in particular to all the goals that you set at the beginning of the year?
There's only one goal, and that's to do this right up here, do our job and follow the plan. That's it. I guess you'd call that too, but if we do our job, then we're following the plan that we have, and everybody's got a job to do, and that's all we're focusing on, is trying to get everybody in the program, regardless of their responsibility, their job description, to try to do it at the highest level possible, and hopefully we'll collectively do that together and get a good result from it. And we've managed to have some success this year, but that's all in the past. And this game this week will be the hardest game that we've played all year, and the intensity, the emotion that is part of these games just makes it different from everything else. And so trying to focus through that and have our guys ready and able to do their job, and that's the most important thing. This game, not anything we've done before or anything that comes after. This is a one-game season right now.
And Jeff, you've talked each week about flushing the previous week during the bye week, and maybe there's chance for reflection. How important is it to flush everything that's happened since August 30th here through the end of October?
I think we can all acknowledge that we've had some good victories. Nothing wrong with that. We don't have to apologize for that. But what's important is finding the things that we've done well and try to continue to build on those, and the areas where we've fallen short, which there's plenty of them, and try to get better at those. And so a bye week really gives us a chance to get back to the basics a little bit. And though we are focused on the schemes that we need to be prepared to execute against Air Force, it's also a chance to work on all of the fundamental things that may get pushed out of the practice from day to day, that we perhaps worked on pretty diligently in preseason camp and in spring ball, blocking, tackling, ball security, all of those things that and in every unit, every phase, there are those things that need some individual work. So it's an opportunity for us to do that, which we did last week, and we continue that. But the bye week is valuable for that. It's valuable for the fact that obviously we're facing a big rival with a very different, particularly very different offensive scheme than we faced all this year, and an emotional game that means a lot to both teams.
Thank you, Coach.
Jackson, Spectrum.
Head Coach Jeff Monken news. You guys had a lot of momentum, a lot of success heading into the bye week. Is it going to be tough getting that momentum going again, getting an engine started again, coming off the bye week into this game?
Well, I've heard it said that you only lose momentum if you stop believing. So that's win, lose, or draw. They don't have any of those anymore. So, I think our guys are professional enough, mature enough to handle what's happened already this year and kind of put it behind us and realize that we're going to have to play better. We're going to have to play better on Saturday. We're going to have to continue to improve as a team. And there's just in the last game alone, there are things in every phase, special teams, defense, offense, that need improvement. And so our guys have enough humility to realize who we are and what we need to do to give ourselves a chance to win. And we're fortunate that we're in the position we are, having won some games, but nobody's given us a head start on Saturday because of it. We're going to have to go and earn the victory, and that's done through execution of our assignments and fundamentals.
Give weekly accolades, a lot of attention. From your perspective, what has it been like watching him lead the offense this season so far up to this point?
He's a tough, rugged runner and a really good leader. And our guys have a lot of respect for him because of who he is, his personality, how he leads, but also the way he plays the game. I think there's a lot of respect for how tough and how physical he plays the game of football.
Connor.
Yeah, Jeff, a lot of people have lengthy lists of goals. That's it. Why did you decide to keep it that simple?
When I worked for Coach Johnson for so many years, he would allow the seniors to choose the goals for the team. And they were always really well thought out and good goals. And so I did that as well when I became a head coach. And we would have a lengthy list of goals up there. And I think my last year at Georgia Southern, we had a couple of goals up there. We were in a pretty precarious situation. We had made the transition from FCS to FBS. We weren't eligible for the playoffs or the postseason. And so many of our goals were tied to those things. When I first got there, it was make the playoffs, win a conference championship. Well, then it became win a national championship. And in that last year, when we didn't have an opportunity to play for any of those things, the goals were really based on performance, points and things like that, which I didn't know what else to put up there for those guys. We didn't accomplish all those. And in fact, some of those goals kind of went out the window early in the season. And so everybody comes in there and stares up at those goals that are up there, and there's just no way to accomplish those anymore. When I got here, we put goals up, and some of those were, make a bowl game, win a CIC trophy, and they were good, healthy goals for us, and goals that kind of set an expectation for the program. And when we got here, the first couple of years, we didn't accomplish any of those goals. But by year 3, we'd won a bowl game. We beat Navy for the first time in a long time. And that was 2016. 2017, we won 10 games. 2018, we won 11 games. And so 2019, we put the goals up, and there were some pretty lofty goals on there. And I think that season became more about certain goals on that board and not all of them collectively, and how we build our team to try to accomplish all these goals. And I really felt like it hurt us. And we didn't have a great year. And so one of the guys who was working on our staff at the time was one of our video guys that worked for Dabo Sweeney at Clemson. He said, you know, Coach, he said, Coach Sweeney doesn't put any goals up on the board. He doesn't put any goals up there about what we want to accomplish, and he just makes it about our team. And so, you know, I thought that was brilliant. And I said, what are the two things that are most important for us to focus on as a program, so that at the end of the year, what might have been our goals will put us in the best position to do that. And so everybody, the thing about football, you and I talked about this earlier, the thing about football is there are so many different jobs to do in here. The kicker and what he does, how different is that from a defensive end or an offensive tackle? And the offensive tackle, how different is that job from playing corner? Yet all of these jobs are important in the organization for us to win. We've got to have people to do each one of those. So everybody's got a job. And so doing our job, embracing that role, was going to be really important for us to have success as a program. And then our plan that we have an overall philosophy, a plan for winning, the things that we feel like we have to do as a program at Army in order to win. And we build our practice plans based on that plan. We call the game, we develop schemes that will help us accomplish the things that we feel are important for winning football games here. And so that became the goals. Do your job and follow the plan. And that hasn't won us every single game, but I think it's just helped us focus on what's really important.
Connor, get us started on Zoom.
Okay, Charles, you can start us off.
Good afternoon, Coach. Charles Greaves here with GoBlackKnights.com. This time last year, you guys were on the road, Colorado Springs, to take on, at that time, number 17 Air Force, and you came away with a 23-3 win over the Falcons. But here you are, days away from hosting Air Force, with the Black Knights being ranked 21st in both polls. What have you, or what do you say to your team so that they maintain that same level of consistency and intensity that have you where you are today, versus having that post-game conversation of what coulda, shoulda happened, but didn't happen?
Certainly that's dangerous for teams that have had success. And the longer that goes, the more a team faces that. And it's easy to access headlines. All you have to do is turn your phone on. It's a matter of maturity and professionalism that has to be a part of who our guys are every day. And it's really hard to do, because they're human beings, and the parents and their classmates and their friends and what they read on the internet, that is all sending the message that hey, just pat yourself on the back and oh gosh, isn't it great what you've done? And it's having enough humility to kind of put it behind us and concentrate on the next game. And hopefully we're doing that. I don't know in their heart of hearts, they know. I don't know if they are, but I hope so. I hope we're able to kind of compartmentalize it and know that this game is going to be the toughest game we faced all year, or toughest game we played all year, and the toughest opponent that we faced. It's a well-coached team that we're going to face, a talented team we're going to face, and they know us better than anybody we've played. They know our schemes, they know our personnel, and so it's a really hard game to win, and it's going to take a tremendous effort on our part to win the game. And last year's game was a hard-fought game. We were very fortunate that we got some turnovers, and I mean, just some freak things happened in the game. The quarterback went to throw a pass, and the ball fell out of his hands, That doesn't happen. I mean, we were very fortunate. So even with that many turnovers last year, we didn't score in the second half. And we made some plays, had a big play to start the scoring, and got a field goal right before halftime off of an interception. But it was a battle, and it always is. And I think of the history of this game since I've been here, and there's been fourth down stops by them and by us, goal line stands by both teams. There's been last minute drives. They're hard fought games that are just intense and filled with pride and passion and emotion, and so just staying grounded and trying to play the next play and play our very best is what's important in this game, and hopefully we'll play well enough to have a chance to win.
Great. And my follow-up and final question, I know that last week's bye practice was devoted to fundamentals and prep for Air Force. Is there any different course of action that you will take this week's practice because it's Air Force, or is it business as usual?
Really, I think just the plan that we have, Charles, to prepare our team. There are things we do each day of the week that, regardless of the opponent, that we practice. They're situational. It's situational football, and we have to practice those scenarios so that our guys are prepared in case it does come up in the game. Some of those things we do maybe every other week or even every 3 weeks. Some of those we do every week. They know on Tuesday we're going to practice this scenario, and on Wednesday we're going to practice this scenario, and really preparing for their schemes, because as I said, they know us so well. They are well coached, and they have talented football players, and they will execute at a really high level. They always do. This game is every year, and it's tooth and nail every single play. So a lot of our time last week and this week has been dedicated really to just getting prepared for Air Force and the schemes that we're going to face on Saturday.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Charles.
We'll go to Seth.
Good afternoon, Coach. I don't know whether I'm sure you saw it, but Navy turned the ball over a lot against Notre Dame. You mentioned Air Force last year turning the ball over. How important are you drilling to the guys, making it clear that the turnover game is so important to winning against Air Force?
Every week and every day in practice, we are hypersensitive to players who don't have good ball security or aren't fundamentally taking care of the ball, and as well as on defense trying to take the ball away. And they are a one turnover advantage for a team. It gives them a huge advantage in winning the football game. And in games in college football in general, I'm certain it'll be the case again this year in college football. But we track those statistics because turnovers do make a difference in the game. And I mean, every year it's somewhere between 70 and 80%, 74%, 78%, 76% of the games in college football where there was at least a one turnover advantage. Those teams won. So if you can say 78% of the games last year were won, or in games where there was a one turnover advantage for one team in college football, FBS to FBS games, 78% of those were won by the team that had the advantage. You'd try to gain an advantage. And so not turning the ball over is as important as trying to take it away. So we place a great emphasis on it. And we know that we're not likely to play a game with 6 turnovers where the other team turns it over 6 times. They may not turn it over at all. And so we've got to play our very best and be prepared to try to win the game without counting on a turnover.
Okay, my final question is the team healthy with the bye week? Was there any issues there with, with health concerns that enabled the team to get healthy with the bye week?
No, we're not healthy. Yes, there are concerns, and no, I won't share those with you.
Thank you.
We'll go to Ken Kreitzer.
Hey, good afternoon, Coach. Good to see you. Just from last year's game, it was a remarkable upset. Bryson Daly came back in that game, and you haven't lost a game since then. What changed? Did anything change with the team when you had that big upset win on the road that's continued into this year, the leadership that's been demonstrated so far?
I thought we had really good leadership on our team a year ago. Certainly, we didn't start out the season like we hoped. We had a tough start to the season, and we did the year before that. But the leadership on our team, I think, really that was apparent because we were able to finish strong, and so the guys last year really did a great job of holding our team together and being leaders and remaining positive, which is really difficult to do in a 2-6 start. But that game out in Denver was a huge boost to us, our confidence, and just the excitement of being able to celebrate a victory after having a really tough stretch, to celebrate a win and know that collectively we could beat a good football team playing together and continuing to have trust in each other and not not try to do our own thing. I think that too is human nature, and we want so badly to win. We want so badly for things to work. We want so desperately to succeed that sometimes we try to step out of our own lane or not do our job, try to do somebody else's job to help the thing work. And our guys just kept fighting and kept believing. And fortunately, we were able to come away with a win in that game. And as I said, it was a hard fought game, and we were fortunate to get some turnovers from them, which helped us win the football game. And it was a hard fought victory. So I was proud of those guys for that win, and we're able to continue to have some success as the season went along. And I guess there's carryover, but a lot of those guys in that locker room are gone. A lot of the players on that team that played are no longer playing for us. So a new generation of leaders had to come out of the ranks and provide the leadership. And I think the guys on this team, the seniors and the captains that we have, the key leaders, have done a really good job.
And Coach, just about Air Force on offense, the rushing 194 yards a game, which is less than you'd probably expect from an Air Force team. And their quarterback, John Busha, 29 of 79. He's also rushed 28 yards. Their second leading rusher behind Cade Harris. So what do you see in the Air Force offense this year?
Again, it's really it's what they've done over the years. It's not just one year. They've had so many powerful offenses and have been so good at what they do over the years. I mean, those are the things that we know they're capable of every Saturday. And just look at the last game they played against Colorado State. Colorado State had them down, and they came roaring back. And their ability to be able to make plays, their play caller, and those guys have grown up in that system. It's not like they have players that are doing this for the very first time. They've been doing it a long time. Guys did it at the prep school, and they've done it throughout their careers, and now they're playing on Saturdays, and they're so good at what they do. They're so good at recognizing what people are doing to stop them defensively, that they have answers for whatever a defense throws at them. And so that makes it particularly challenging to face them and to know who they are. And And like I said, this is the most difficult game of the year for us so far because of who they are and how different they are. And it'll be a challenge. I'm always impressed with their players, their effort, how well coached they are, and so we've got to match that and hope that we position our players effectively enough that it gives them a chance to succeed.
Coach, quick question on their defense. They're giving up a lot of yards, 381 a game, and their two best tacklers are defensive backs, Camby Goff and Jabari Bellamy, and they've got a defensive lineman, Peyton Zadrick, who's got 3 sacks. What do you see in the Air Force defense this year?
They're very active on defense and have always created a lot of issues for us. They've always been difficult to scheme against and to execute against. Coach Nora does a really good job with that defense, and this is a scheme, a coaching staff, and a defense that has regularly been some of the best defenses in the country. It's not maybe last year, the year before, I think they had risen all the way up to the #1 defense in the country, and they don't give up points, they don't give up yards. They're stingy against everybody. They've played Baylor, who a Power 5 school. It's a really good program, and they got high-powered athletes. They've played New Mexico, who's scoring at will on everybody. I mean, they've got they've got an offense. If you look in the FBS statistics, and one of the top scoring offenses in the country. They play some good teams, and so they've got guys on their team. You mentioned some of the returning starters, some of the veteran guys that they've got, and every team needs those. We got some young guys too, some guys that don't have as much experience, but this is a team that's got a lot of confidence, and they should. They're a winning program. They've been one of the best teams in their league for many years, and so there's been some teams that have hit them for some points and some yards this year. We've had some too. Look at the second half of our last game. East Carolina's got a bunch of athletes, and they were able to score some points against us too. So it's completely different when an academy plays an academy. It really is, and I don't think there's any way to compare what has happened so far in either season, ours or theirs, to this point, as to what's going to happen on Saturday.
Thank you, Coach.
We'll go to Sal.
Hey, Coach. Hope everything's well.
You too.
Question about Nate Woody and his success that he's had against Navy and Air Force over, the time he's been at West Point. I know he played against those type of offenses back in, his previous coaching experience, but is there anything else you can attribute his success to?
Nate Woody's an excellent coach. He's a good teacher. He has a defensive system that it's easy for our guys to learn. It's complex enough that we're not just sitting in one defense all day long. But it's easy enough for those guys to learn and to master. And I think that the number of young players that we've had over the years that he's been here that have been able to play as freshmen and sophomores, I think speaks to that. The games, it's crazy to look at the scores of these games. The Navy Air Force game this year, Navy scored some points against Air Force this year, and they've got a high-powered offense. They're scoring points against everybody. It's a couple years ago, the game was lopsided the other way. That Air Force scored a bunch of points, and Navy did. And in our games, in all of our games, whether it's the Army-Navy game or it's the Army-Air Force game, they always seem to be low-scoring games. And that's kind of traditionally been the case. There's a 10-7 game. There's a 14-14 at the end of regulation. We won in overtime. There's a 13-7 game that they won. 2019, there's 21-17. We're down there on the goal line at the end of the game. I mean, there's those games that are just really close and closely contested in lower scoring games. Coach Woody does a really good job. He's got a lot of experience against the option offenses, coaching at Wofford all those years, and then coaching at Appalachian State in the Southern Conference, where they had to defend Georgia Southern, they had to defend Wofford, the Citadel teams running this offense. So he's got a lot of years defending it. But that's kind of the case at all the academies. Everybody that coaches defense at the academies has a lot of experience coaching against these option offenses, and I think that's probably why all the teams really do a pretty good job of defending it year in and year out. And there are just some years where one team gets the better of the other, but most of the time it's pretty close.
One more question on Bryson Daly. What has his leadership meant to this team so far this year?
I don't know if you can place a value on leadership, not a tangible value. I think it's just what we recognize subjectively. If a guy is really affecting his teammates and affecting the team with how he leads and his presence around his teammates, and I think it's pretty apparent what Bryson brings to this team from a leadership standpoint. He's a great communicator. He's willing to talk in front of the team. He says what needs to be said, and he plays, I think, like we'd want an Army football quarterback to play. And really, if he took the same temperament and personality and demeanor and toughness into any position, whether it was an offensive line or defensive line or linebacker, it would suit that position pretty well. It's just, I think he embodies all of the things that we want in Army football in terms of toughness and competitiveness and a winning spirit.
Appreciate it, Coach. Good luck on Saturday.
Thanks. We'll need it.
We'll go to John.
Coach, with a run-oriented team such as Army, you tend to have fewer possessions for each side. And with Air Force also playing a triple option, that'll also reduce the number of possessions. Is this going to lead to more conservative play or a reliance on the big play to try and make things happen?
I think each team will just try to operate and be as effective as we can, regardless of what's called. I don't know that we ever go into a game and say, well, we're going to be more conservative in this game, or we're going to try to hit the 3-run homer and just hit a big play. And that I think it's us playing our game, them playing their game, and hoping it'll be good enough. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to play our game and hope it'll be good enough. There are fewer possessions typically in our games, in their games, because of the run-oriented offenses that eat a lot of clock. And there have been games that we've played not just against the Air Force Academy or the Naval Academy that have been 7 possessions, 8 possessions. I think there was one game against Air Force a few years ago where we had 5 full possessions in the game. I think the other 2 possessions were an end of half, maybe a play or two, and end of game, a play or two. And I don't know that we were necessarily trying to play more conservative or trying to see if we could hit a big play. We were just that team we had trying to do the best we could with the guys we had and the scheme that we thought would be best. So I imagine, this game will be the same. They're going to do whatever they think they have to try to win the game. We're going to do whatever we think we have to try to win the game. And if it's 5 possessions each, it's 5 possessions each, and it's 15, it's 15. And we'll see how it plays out.
Thank you, Coach.
We can do 2 more with Ken McMillan.
Hey Jeff, a player like Kanye Udo, who's still kind of young in his CIC career, what would you expect from him? And the follow to that being, have you found that in these games, is it the experienced players who determine these games, or have you found that young talent kind of breaks the mold?
Tanya Udo's a really good player, and we rely on him every week to help our offense go. We obviously had a bye week this past week, and so there are several teams that have another game of statistics, but with 7 games in, following the East Carolina game, I think he was still in the top 25 for top rushers in the country. There's a lot of guys running the football, quarterbacks and running backs, and people carrying the football in the country. So he's had a really good year, and I hope it'll continue. He's a really good player. I'm glad he's on our team, and he certainly will have a big role on Saturday. The follow-up question was?
Is it the experienced players who determine these games, or have you found young talent breaking the mold?
I think it's a little bit of both. Kanye played in this game a year ago. He was a freshman, and we had guys that were like Bryson Daly, or I should say Tyson Riley and Jacoby Buchanan, who were seniors. Bryson Daly, who was a junior, hadn't played in an academy game as a starter his first time, but you had some running backs that had been around and played a lot. So I think everybody that has played in our games so far this year, we expect them to have a role and be able to contribute in the game on Saturday. And who will play their very best or who will make the plays, I don't know. We'll see on Saturday. There may be some guys that pop up on a special team, or we are thrust into the action on offense or defense that are younger and more inexperienced. We'll see. I don't know, but I think our best teams have been teams that have been the most experienced, and likely that's the case around the country. You don't see many teams that are having great seasons that have all freshmen, guys have never started a game before. As talented as they are, it's really hard to do as a young player. And there are some that play. Like there's a kid from Alabama that's 17 years old that could still be in high school. I've read a couple things about him. I mean, holy smokes, that guy's a good player. But all 22 aren't freshmen. So we rely on our older players, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Hey Jeff, the preparation aside, it's game day. You're on the sideline. You got your headsets on. Is it harder, easier, or the same to actually coach a CIC game for you?
The CIC games are hard. They're hard for everybody. Hard playing, hard to coach in, because of the pride of the branches of service that we represent. There's men and women all over the world that are wearing the same colors as us, and for them, their branch of service. And so we represent a lot more than just our team and our schools at that point in time. And we do every week. But when we play each other, it's an intense rivalry. And we want to get everything right. I want to get everything right. I don't want to make mistakes that are detrimental to our team. The game is for the players. And so I want to make the best decisions that I can for those players and to help them be in position to win the game. So it is, there's an intensity that's different. And that again, like I said earlier in the press conference, we don't apologize for that. This game and the game against Navy are the 2 biggest games of the year for us. And the Commander-in-Chief's trophy is the most coveted, tangible goal, award, trophy that we could play for. It's the history behind it and the pride that we have when we've been able to win it. I mean, There's nothing like these games.